I'm programming an NES game live on Twitch from scratch. Let's get started. Sorry about the late start here, but was dealing with some, as I mentioned on Twitter, some school stuff for my daughter. It was a late night for all, so I was just kind of scrambling to get caught up here and get back into the problem we're trying to fix right now, which is that we are currently trying to update our attribute buffer, but running into a problem. Running into a problem where that is not the file I wanted to launch. Is there a way to do that from here? I feel like there is. I just want to run this and not have to deal with the command line or Explorer or any of that stuff. I can build with Control B. So let's see. So project, open project, preferences, settings, project. Let's go to view. Well, maybe we'll figure that out later. I don't know why that's not something that command palette, run. All right, not important right now. Let's get this launched. So the game currently is a situation where we have the map scrolling, and if I launch the PPU viewer, I can see the updates of the rows and the attributes. But what I don't like is that it's pretty small. It's hard to see what's going on. I'd also like to be able to see the changes regardless of whether or not there was a change. It looks like Messin is just only showing what changed versus just that there was a change made. So what I was thinking of doing is we're using the attribute buffer as our location for updating our attribute values. What we can do is we could actually write a quick little script here. Hopefully it'll be quick, where we are looking at changes for the attribute buffer, which is right at the beginning of the 0 page. And we look for changes in the 0 bytes there, and the 0 through 64, and use that as a means to know if we should update the screen. And then based on the value that was there and the value that is being written, we can even potentially update a narrower update than just the entire attribute rectangle. But let's start with that. So the Messin Lua documentation, we can register for a memory callback. Let's see. That's actually the memory access. What we want is we want to add a memory callback for a CPU write. So let's do a new script window here. And let's do add memory callback, CPU write. It's mu mem callback, CPU write, and then we got to give it the function. So memory updated. We'll actually define that in a second. And then the start address is 0, and the end address is, let's see, so it's 64, 40 hex, right? Let's just make sure that that attribute update, make sure that that compiles and, oh yeah, I'm going to actually add that function. Let's see. I don't need to do anything right now. I just want to run it. Make sure it runs. And it looks like it's running. So let's do this. Let's, when it updates, let's draw a rectangle on the screen based on the address. So we do mu draw rectangle. And then the X position and the Y position would be determined by the address that we get. So because we're starting at 0, we don't have to do any offsetting. We can just take the address and let's see, we want to divide it by, it's 64 divided by 8. So let's take the address and divide it by 8, and then that will give us our, that actually gives us, okay, let's see here. So that's going to give us our row, right? So we would take this and then multiply that by 32, and then the column, the X address, is the remainder of address divided by, what was it? Is there a modulo in Lua? Modulo. Yeah. So modulo 8. And then times 32. Because again, it's a 32 by 32. So we're just finding which of the attribute locations we're updating. Our height and width are 32 by 32. The color, let's just say it's integer color. I don't know, 1. Fill, false, and duration, number of frames to display. Let's say for 15 frames and then no delay. All right, so we are seeing, okay, one other thing, you know what we got to do? We got to update the Lua floor. We want the floor, or we want to turn it to an integer, because what's happening is the divide by 8 for the y coordinate is giving us a non-integer value, and then it's as a result shifting it slightly. There we go, depending on which address we're updating. Now the only other thing that we have to do is we have to offset by this current scroll value, because if we don't, then what's going to happen is it's going to just draw on the screen sort of in absolute terms, and the only time it's going to actually be correct is when the scroll value is at the 0 position, essentially. So what we need to do, let's close this, and that's okay. So let's pause this for a second. And we can actually make this a little bit longer. It'd be neat if it could do a fade, but I'll take it for now. It's doing what we want. Get out of here. All right, where is our scroll Y? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move scroll Y up to be right after the attribute buffer, just for the sake of ease of use. And scroll Y is just a byte. So let's rebuild this, relaunch it. Should still all be working. It is. Let's now use the value of the scroll address. So that would be at address 41. What are the other parameters? I don't know. Memory access, read, address, type, and signed. So we want mu read 41. Type is mu mem type CPU, and then signed is false, and we want the value to be returned into our scroll offset. This should just be minus. Didn't really think about this too much. I just want to see what this kind of looks like. Excuse me. Let's see how this looks compared to what Messin is actually updating. It looks like interesting. I don't know if that's actually happening or not. Is it really updating that? All right, so let's pause this for a second. So the Y scroll value rolls over. Oh, and that's the other part of this. So it's not just the Y scroll. It is. We also have to know if we are flipping over to accommodate for the shift in the offset of the name table. So let's see. Where are we setting that? Copy the sprites. Process scrolling, metatile flag. Store our row. Store our attribute buffer. Which address are we doing that in? I actually don't remember. hold on one second. I'm going to be right back. Sorry about that. All right. Let's see here. So we're scrolling. This is what I'm looking for. 2002, 2001. This is just 2000. Generating my base name table address. Yeah, so where are we modifying that? Because at some point we were writing the code to modify where we are using our base address when we're doing the scrolling. So it's for swap. So where does swap get set? Let's move swap over here, because again, we just want easy access to it. What does hswap h use for? Load a21, store it in hswap h, store a swap. Okay, let's go back to the emulator and look at that in memory. We'll see if that's changing, like I think it is. Here's the memory. So that would be, let's see, so our scroll will now be at 41, right? No, 40? So this is the attribute table. Okay, first of all, all right, yeah, so, okay, it is at 40. I haven't completely lost my mind. I did put the, I did put the wrong address here. This should be 0. Because it's wrong. All right, so now if we look back at the memory, this is our scrolling. Why doesn't it know what this is? Usually it says it knows what the, yeah, scroll Y. And that's new tiles, internal RAM, swap. Go back to my source here. This is in, that's not in the main game here. Swap. That is at, where are you located? Swap. That's 7A. 7A. You're at 40. Did I not rebuild that? Oh, okay. I didn't rebuild it. That's why. My mistake. All right, so that's running. We've got the memory, and now we should see that as we hit the boundary, we should see this value change. That's our swap for this. What's that that's coming after that? Oh, okay, those are the new tiles that need to get loaded, right? So that's interesting. Why do I not? Is that just a... I guess I'm just applying that as an exclusive OR against the bits. So I really have to look at the register. So if I go to that location in memory, do I actually see that in the emulator correctly or no? I imagine there's probably got to be a way to read that register from the emulation. Get state. Looks like it. So I can so 2000, it's base name table address, background pattern ADDR. It's going to be 0 through 3. So let's confirm that. mu draw string gets mu.getState. What is it? Just, yeah, it's just get state. And then PPU and oh, it's a table. It works differently, right? Lua tables. Still not super comfortable with Lua. It's okay. It's not that it's difficult. I just don't really know it very well. I don't really use it that often. Alright, so PPU. PPU control. Background pattern. Oh, that's the pattern address. That's not what I want. I want the video RAM address. Controller. Let's see. Sprite pattern table, background pattern table, sprite size. It's the one that has sprite size in it, it looks like. Really? Sprite? Sprite, pattern address, sprite mask, large sprite. So it's this. Sprite pattern address. Okay, it's different. Background pattern address. I guess that's what I'm looking for. So that's under control. Am I doing this right? We'll find out in a second. So I'm drawing this at 0, 0. Maybe. Nope, it's X and Y first, and then what I want to draw. So let's just draw it 0. See if that works, or if it doesn't like my code. It is running my script, but it is not. Oh, you know what? It's an integer. What do you do to? No. You can concatenate strings in this. Oh, it's double dot, not triple dot. Of course. 10, 10. There it is. Okay. So 0. And then it should change. And it's not. Yeah, I don't think that was... It's not the background pattern, it's the base name. What is that actually? What are they calling that? What is he calling that in this? Emulation, get state, background enabled, intensify, pattern, address, background mask? No. I mean, this is the control, so... It would need to be... It would need to be a value. Well, although, thinking about it now, I guess I'm not doing the push, I'm just, well, yeah. I would have to be, because when you get to this point, the scroll is going to roll over, and it would just go back down to here. Yeah, so... What is he referring to that as that I can't figure out here? Let's see. Draw left, left sprite, sprite 0 hit. It would just be, I'm background address. So if I made this 1 or 2, what would happen? Once resetting it, I guess. Or have I just completely lost it and I'm not doing that anymore? But I... Let's see. Let me decrement scroll Y, load A compared to FF, branch if not equal to done scroll, otherwise load EF and store and scroll Y. Tell PPU which address blah. Horizontal range from 0 to 255. Normal vertical offsets range from 0 to 239, while values 240 through 255 are treated as minus 16 to minus 1. The tile data is incorrectly fetched from the attribute table. By changing the values here across, yeah. Register is used to change scroll position. Which pixel of the name table selected through PPU control? Yeah, base name table address. I don't understand what I don't understand about what I'm looking at here. That's the pattern address. Sprite pattern address. NMI on VBlank. Sprite mask. Large sprites. Background mask. What is background mask? PPU master slave select. Yeah, I mean, things aren't going poorly. I was trying to update the trying to update write some Lua to update the screen where we're updating the attributes on the main screen so that I can see that. But I'm in a situation where I don't understand the organization of this information that is in the state that's coming back from Messen. And I don't know why. I mean, it should be pretty straightforward to just get the name table. So the base name table address is what we're using to determine if we're scrolling over here or over here, which is fine. I get that part, but the part that's weird is it doesn't look like I can get that from the state of the emulator, which just seems weird. Should just get the value of control and see what that looks like. Let's see. So PPU control state, no, PPU state control. So let's see what this looks like here. 136, and then what we should see is that once we hit this point where we're back into the other name table offset, that the state should go back. Or maybe we hit it already. Let's see what happens if we roll over. Am I just being dumb and confusing myself here? No, it's definitely doing what I think it's doing. It's just for some reason like ignoring or I'm looking at the wrong thing. That's control. Let's look at status. I mean, it should be control, right? Because that's what the register is actually called. And no change there. Oh, that's why. Is it this X scroll? Is there another? Did he refer to it based on scroll? No, because that's just the X scroll. Add 240 to the Y scroll position. Video RAM address. Why? Is that what it is? Base name table address is video RAM address. State. Video RAM adder. No. Why? Can't I find what I'm looking for? Video RAM address. Right toggle. Background enabled, intensify, background pattern address, grayscale. Well, let's do this before we go any further. I want to make that get drawn out every frame and not just some frames. I have a good example somewhere here. Emulation. Where is, let me open up one of my other scripts here for a second. This is on end frame. We'll add this. Doesn't use curly braces. Okay. Alright, so now this is just writing. Alright, so that has the video RAM address, but that's not what I wanted, obviously, because it's changing all the time. Let me take a look at what control gives me. I wish this would launch automatically. I would try video RAM address like you said. This is just the flags of control. Well, that's what I'm looking for. I want to know what the bottom 2 bits of control are, because I want to know if I'm offsetting at the correct location, or in the correct way, rather. Because we should always be seeing the attribute updates happen up here. Actually, it looks like they are. Maybe I was just focusing too much on other nonsense. Okay, well, that was silly, I guess. It does appear to be drawing my attribute updates here. Oh, I broke this. How do you comment in Lua? Line block Lua computer, you can comment in Lua 2 ways. PHP, for example, line starts blah 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 blah. What is this? Why? Oh, it's a double dash, like in SQL. Okay. Double dash like in SQL. Alright. No problem. Or not. What the hell? It is a double hyphen. You can't have the space, or you have to have space. Scroll offset. This is a comment. Comments. Why is this poorly done? All right. How about now? Are you happy now? No. Really? Fuck it. There. There are your comments. Now what? Attempting to perform on scroll offset. Oh. That's what that's complaining about? Not my comments? Well, that was silly. All right. So it looks like I'm getting my attribute updates happening at the right time now. I just want I should make the frame, make it last for a few more frames, just so it's a little more visible. Now, I don't understand what this is all about. Like, why is it updating? Is that, oh, you know what? That's inclusive. So that is actually not the attribute table. That was my scroll offset that was being updated. That's okay. All right, so now So now what we should see is every time we update the attribute table, we get a little update like that. Let's turn off the overscan so we can see it. And so the nice thing is, even if the attribute value doesn't change, we're still seeing updates to the attribute row on screen, which is what I wanted to see. So that's cool. That just took a little longer than expected because of me doing dumb things, but that's okay. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was I wanted to know what part of the attribute was actually being updated. So what I want to do is I want to take the current value, which is going to be at address, and get that. Let's make sure that this is working. Two little parameters. Oh, right. I got a mu mem type CPU. Mem type dot CPU. And there. Okay. So that is going to let me see what the current value is, because this callback gets called when before the actual memory gets updated. So we'll be able to look at the value before we get the update, which is in value. And then we can make our rectangle drawing a little bit more precise. So how are we going to do that? How are we going to take the value that we're getting written? So it consists of two bits for each range, for each palette, rather. We could just do a quick comparison. That might be the easiest thing. And just do something like upper. I gotta refer back to the documentation because I always get confused. I feel like the least significant bytes are the top part of the attribute. Yeah, so the bottom is in the most significant bits and the top is in the least significant bits. So upper left is in the least significant 2 bits. So we want to say, what does that give us? That gives us, we want 0 for that. We just want the 2 bottommost bits. So that's 3 and current value. And then upper right is, that is going to be 4 and 8, which will give us C0 and current value. And then we want to shift that over 2 bits. And then bottom left is equal to 30 and current value, and shift that 4 bits. And then, right, that's bottom left. And then, yeah, and then bottom right is OXC0. This should be 0C and current value 6, right? And then we also need to know what the current, this is kind of, I'm sure there's a more efficient way of doing this with bit masking, but at the risk of wasting time trying to debug the more clever way, I'm just going to do it this way because I know that it will be simpler and will work. All right, so these are the new values. Let's even call it new value just to make it clear. All right. And then we'd say if upper left, what are the comparative operators here in Lua? I'm gonna get better at Lua, so I don't have to look at, I don't have to keep looking up all that stuff. I don't remember if it works like C in the comparisons or not. So what is it? Tilde equals and tilde equals. So if if upper left tilde equals new upper left, all logical operators, the operator or is the first argument. We're doing a crash course in Lua today. Statements, assignments, variables, that's while. If this, then, else, and, okay. So if this doesn't equal that, then we are going to draw a rectangle. Let's calculate our base starting location and save that, and then we will offset accordingly. So start x equals this, and start y equals that. Yeah, down the rabbit hole is right? So if that doesn't equal that, then we have our upper left, which is our base address, our start x, start y. I'm going to give you the documentation, rectangle, XY width, height, color. Oh, I've got it down below me. Okay. XY 16 by 16. I don't know what the color represents. Is it just like RGB? Is that what it is? You can do red like that. False 5 0. Let's see. That built. Okay, well that's good. Let's restart. We had gotten to the end of the level here. I don't know if we're ever going to see the upper left update. Let's do this for upper right and new upper right. Well, actually, let's do one of the bottom ones. Bottom left and new bottom left. So bottom left is going to be plus 16, and then let's do that in, I don't know, blue. Let's see if that blue might not be the best color because we have blue background. Oh, it's RGB, right? So anyway, it's green. Good. So that looks like that's working. Let's do upper right and new upper right. So that's plus 16 there. And we'll make that green, and then we'll make this blue. And then we'll do bottom right. And we'll do white. Compile that. Although, now that I say that, this is exactly what Messen is doing, in that it's showing only what changed. I still want the rectangle showing that the whole thing changed. So let's fix that. This should be start Y, not start Y6. I don't know what that actually accomplishes. So then mu draw rectangle, start X, start Y, 32 by 32, we'll do black, false, 5, 0, and build that. So now we'll see a larger rectangle, or a larger square, every time the attributes are updated, with a colored one to reflect the section of the attribute that was updated. So let's go back here. Oh, I don't like that it does that. I really wish it would automatically rerun the script when you restart the game. It's really annoying that it doesn't do that. Alright, so right off the bat, I'm seeing some strange... Also, why... Start X, start Y. Oh, start X. Yeah. I was wondering why I wasn't seeing the larger... What? Rectangle. There we go. Alright, so we're seeing now the updates to the attributes as well as what is actually being updated. Bottom left is just the start X plus 16. Oh, this should be plus 16 also. Let's restart. Run the script. There we go. That looked a little bit more like what I was hoping to see. All right, so now too slow. So we can see that it's updating that whole thing, but only the attributes over there are actually getting changed. That's pretty cool. All right. So now we can kind of move forward. So for that one, it updated that part. Now, I believe, so that's the other thing we need to do. We need to know if we're in split mode or not. So let's see, attribute, ATTR mode. Let's move that over down here. Swap is unimportant, so that'll be at 41. So let's read that and draw that on screen. So draw string 10, 10, mu, read 41. What is it? Mu mem type CPU. And then let's put some text there. Split mode. Or attribute mode, I guess I should say. Attribute mode. So let's see. I gotta got to recompile and or reassemble and restart and rerun the script and all that good stuff. So let's do that. Okay, rerun that. Okay, so 15. Why do I not see? Oh, 10, 10. Drawstring. What? How do you set the color for that? Drawing. Drawstring. Text. Oh, we need a color. That's why. This, and then... Okay. Let's see here. Much better. So attribute mode 15, and our attribute is either F0 or 0F. So if it's 0F, we're masking the first four bits. If this is the top 4 bits. Right, so if we let this run, what we should see is that mode should switch. And there he goes to 255. 255, that would be FF. And that is not right. Is that because I changed no split to F0? That's probably what it is. So let's see. So when we get to the point where we are flipping the attribute mode, that's our control logic. Attribute mode E or F0, because it used to be that we were going from FF to 0F, right? Let me look back at what the code looked like before we did this silly business. Come on, source tree. Yeah, so it was FF, and we changed it to F0. So really what we want to do is we want to, instead of doing an EOR with F0, we want to do just swap the bits. We want to go from F0 to 0F. And then back. We want to keep going back and forth. And I remember saying last week, we know this is going to create weird problems with the attributes in the split mode. But that was okay, because we knew that that was what was going to happen. So then that means what? That means that no split is F0, and split is 0F. So does that mean that this is working now? We got to look at the map and tiled, and just go back and compare it. I really should do the update, but I don't want to do... Every time I open this, I open it on stream, and I really don't want to do that while I'm in the middle of streaming, because if it doesn't work, then it's going to be a problem. Alright, so it's either 240 or 15. Where is my Lua? If equals that, then we're doing our split, else, and I know I could simplify the text by just updating a variable with the value. I don't care right now. That's not what we're trying to solve. And this is just temporary for what we're doing here. Okay, so we're in no split mode. So let's restart. Let's rerun the script. Let's look at the map. And we will look at what this appears to be doing as we go through, bearing in mind that while it is in split mode, it is most likely going to be partially wrong. But when we get to no split mode, it should be correct. Actually, so far it's just the no split mode that seems to be having the problem, and only for this one. But it looks like it's not doing the update as far up as the split mode was. Let's see. So, yeah, it was updating it to like about there. Right? Pretty far up. And now in the no split mode, every time it's updating the attributes, it's much lower down on the screen, which means that most likely with the overscan, we will not actually see it. Let's see. No, it's still there. Is it as bad? I can't. I'm having a hard time telling. Let me just restart. Let's see. So it's in split mode. Where my mouse is on the screen, that's where we're seeing the attributes sort of blink into existence. Now for no split mode, it should be happening. It is happening lower, it looks like. Yeah. So it is happening lower, which is what we wanted. We can do a little sprite 0. Little sprite 0 split at the bottom to mask that. Let me get rid of, or let me move this over a little bit, and let me just change this to say S or NS, so it's not quite so because what's happening right now with the split mode is that it's updating the full 32 by 32. With the no split mode, it's just doing 16, so it's not coming quite so far up. Now, let's see here. The other part of... Yeah, no, never mind what I was going to say. So let's fix now the split mode to work like the no split mode, where it is... Well, let's take a... First, let's just double check that the... No, I guess it's okay. Where we're doing the split mode... where is this thing here? So no split update. Here's the split update. So we were not changing that. Now for the split attribute mode, we are... Compare if it's split, otherwise... Okay. So let me think about this for a second. If we are doing our updates in split mode, we have our attribute, and we're updating this guy, sorry, this guy, and this guy. And so we do the bottommost bits first, and then we do the top, sorry, the most significant bits, and then the least significant bits. Which I think we're doing anyway. It's just a matter of where we're setting our, if we're changing our index. So let's see, and also the mask. Load A, temp, and attribute mode. Story temp 2. Load A, attribute mode, and flip the bits. So that will give us our that will give us, if we are in split mode, we will get F0. And F0 is, F0 is the top. So we will take the attribute buffer and AND it against F0, giving us just the top ones, and then we will OR on the bottom ones, which will give us our top and our, yeah, will give us our top values. And then we're going to store that back. And then we're going to take a look at the mode. And what are we saying? So we're saying that if we are splitting, we're updating the bottom ones. And if we are, sorry, if we're, man, this is so confusing. The attributes is probably the hardest part so far of NES programming. So if we are in split mode, we're going to update the bottom first and then the top. And if we are in, if we're not splitting, we're going to do the bottom first, then the top. If we are splitting, we have to do the top. So, and the top would be, we take our attribute mode and we flip the bits. Ah, this is maddening. Let me write this down. So split is 0F. All right, so we are taking 0F. We're taking the value and we're taking 0F, so we get the bottom value and storing it into temp2. And the reason we want, I keep saying that, the least significant bit value, and the reason we're taking the least significant bit value is because we are now doing what? We're taking the mode, which is 0F, and flipping the bits, which gives us F0, which now, when applied to the current attribute buffer, keeps these, but wipes these out. And then we take temp2, which was the value that we want to write against 0F. So we're going to OR the value of the top against the bottom. That's correct. Then we're going to store that in and then load the attribute mode if we're in split. If we're not splitting, then we're going to go done with attributes. Otherwise, let's see, now we don't have to do this anymore, because basically what we're saying is that this is what we're going to do later. We've updated the one attribute at that position. Now update the previous row. Done with attributes. So all we really need to do at this point we've updated the one attribute at that point and update the previous row. Branch if not equal to done with attributes. Compare to split. Branch not equal to done with attributes. Increment attribute index increment y. Compare 8. Okay. Skip mask change. This is if we subtract the y in the split mode. Okay. So we don't really need to do this here anymore, but we have to do it after we've updated the lower bits of the new row we're we're going to. So we still have to do the subtract with carry. So transfer X to A, set the carry, subtract 8, and end it with 3F. Why are we doing that? Are we, I think it's because we're rolling it over. Right, we want it to fit within, oh yeah, we want it to fit within the range of 0 to 64, right. So that's our modulo essentially. So once we've done that subtract, that's all we have to do is do the and then we transfer back to X. Where, so this is loading a temp. If the carry is set, we skip the mask change. Or the attribute values onto the upper nibble of the attribute data. And 0F. Oh, right. Okay, so if we've rolled over... Yeah, so if we're at a point where we subtract 8 and the carry is set, that means we were not at a point where we were less than 8. So then we can just go ahead and do the normal apply that we were doing before. If we get the carry clear, then we need to adjust for the fact that the row that we have rolled over onto is this half row here. And so we're updating the top right of the half row here. Oh man, that is annoying because then let me think about that. So then we're doing this split. We've split up that split update. Because we have this to update. We just updated this part. And now basically the logic would say, okay, if I'm here, then I'm updating here. But the problem is that we rolled over here to the bottom. Right? So we updated this, and now we're going to try and update the bottom, but there is no bottom. The bottom is actually the top of these, which is what this logic is handling. So before we do anything, we've hit attribute, if we update the one after the update the previous row. Let me add some comments here. Subtract 8 from the current position in the attribute buffer, roll over for 64. Check carry. If it's set, then we did not we did not have value less than 8, and therefore don't need to do anything special. I should have done this when I wrote it, but I think I was just happy I got it working. If carry was clear, then we need to flip the mask of the byte, the nibble for updating, because we've rolled over into the half byte, or the half row at the bottom. So what we actually need to do here, I think, is maybe introduce a is it easier to just add a bit called half split? I feel like that's going to be the easiest way to do this, because then I know it's wasting a whole byte doing this, but for now, I can spare the byte. I just feel like we're going to end up... Yeah. So what we need to do is we need to set that to be 1 and not do the logic we're doing. Where the hell is that? Okay. So rather than do any sort of special logic here, what we want to do is we just want to say load a 1, store a, or actually increment half split, which will set the bit to 1, and then let's see, and then all of this goes away. I will put it into a new text buffer here, because what we have to do is then let's even before we even go into this, we'll clear out, well, half split will be 0 until we get to that point, and that'll be in split mode. So what we need to do, so this is the split update, so load a half split, and then we just say branch not equal to normal split update. Otherwise, we're going to decrement half split here and put a comment so I remember why we did this. If half split isn't 0, it's because the last metatile update on the attributes was on the first row in split mode, and therefore rolled over to the bottom. This means that rather than using the standard bit mask, we need to use the reverse, because we are not updating the bottom of the attributes at the top. The other potential problem for this is that once we get to that point, I believe it is going to flip us over to split, back to no split mode. Based on the current value. So we subtract a row, and if the value, and it, and store it. What are we subtracting here? We're subtracting 16. And if the carry is clear, So let's think about that for a second. So what we did was we took the current attribute index. We're not actually storing this anywhere, are we? No, I guess we're just incrementing it. Yeah, which makes sense, because if we started at the beginning of row 0, we would be incrementing it all the way to 8, or sorry, yeah, well, to 8. And so now we need to go back 2 rows, which means that we go into the code that checks if we're if we're flipping back to no split mode, which means that it will be in split mode with the half split set. So I actually want to do this here in no split update, I think. Because that would mean that we have just transitioned from split to no split. Normal no split update. So we've switched from from the normal split to from split mode to no split mode. So the first update we do here will have to be this part, because let's see, we would have been here, would have added 8 and then subtracted 8 and then 16, which means we're here, and then we would have, oh, you know what, the only problem with that also is that I think that we are forcing, when we update to, when we swap modes, yep, we are changing the index to 38, which I don't believe, oh, you know, that might be right. Wrong base. 38 is 56, so that would put us squarely where? So if I do C plus C0, F8, that actually, let's see, so branch of not equal to set no split mode, no, no split mode puts us at 30, which is F0, which is here, which means we're off. We actually want to be at this location the first time, because by the time we get there, so we're going to be in half split mode. Oh boy, I'm glad I did this. We'll be in no split mode. We'll have half split set, which means we've just transitioned, which means that we will load the attribute index and we will do the update on it using split mode as if we were in no split. So we would be doing the top, right? Or we'll be doing the bottom. We would take the buffer, we take the top, we'd shift it to the bottom. No, that's not right either. Crap. It's possible that the stream is kind of unstable according to Twitch, although it seems like it's relatively decent, Mr. Samoflange. Man, that half attribute row is the worst. So the problem right now is that we want to update I guess what I need to do is I need to, because what we want to do is we want to take this value and put it into here. We don't have that anywhere. So what we can do is instead of just doing increment of half split mode, don't be case sensitive, please, just do it. What we can do is we can put that into half split mode. And then although we can't just decrement half split mode like we were doing before, then we have the value that we're going to be setting. Let's see. So if we're putting this in the top, then it goes into the least significant bits, which means that we want to take let's see, if we're in split mode, it is, what did I say, OF? Yeah, so OF, so we had flipped those, we had just taken, so temp2, do we store anything else into temp2 after that? So it looks like temp2 would have that. So load A, temp2, store A into half split. And then instead of just doing that, we can use this to update what the actual value is that we need to use. So this takes the attribute index and loads it and does... Right, this is based on it's adding 8... because that's the next row, and we want the current row, which means that, oh, you know, actually that might be then, maybe we didn't have to change that address we were forcing it to. Let me think about that for a second. Yeah, no, that's going to be okay, I think. Load attribute mode. So this is split. Which way? I don't remember which value it was. It was 30 at 11:57. Is that right? Yep. So this one, $11:59, 11:60. So this is 30, and that's 30 again because when we go into our half split logic here, we're already adding 8. So the first time through, if half split is set, although the attribute index is here, at this row, we're adding 8 to it. So we're okay there. And the only problem is the attribute buffer value itself that we're using. We don't, let's see. So it's basically going to ignore all right, so what we can do should we just write the value into the attribute buffer? I mean, it doesn't do anything because it doesn't actually affect any real tiles. And instead of doing it into half split and then having to figure out where it's supposed to go, if we do it here, it would still technically work, right? Because yeah, we would just need to write it into there. It wouldn't affect the display, but it would still work to treat it like it was really a visible row. So if we go back to this, do we actually have to do anything with half split? Maybe we don't. Maybe half split is meaningless now. Right? Like if we don't care, let me think about this. If we don't care that that row or the bytes in the bits in those bytes have a displayable value, then what we can do is update them. Excuse me. We can still update them as if they actually had an effect, and then when we go into split mode, it will copy those values because why? Because it will be replicating the bottom into the top. And it just so happens... Is that right? That would be kind of amazing if that actually worked out that way. So let's look at this logic here for a second. So 1131. Let's look at the code. If we say we don't care about the mask change because we're going to use those values later, right? So we're saying instead of doing the mask change, just write those values into the attribute buffer. Now we know that in the copy it's not going to do anything, but in the copy, it's not going to do anything, but then because we're doing these half attribute updates, it'll use that value, right? It'll use that value because we said, okay, we updated the top portion of this, which are the least significant bytes, and then we're going to update the bottom of the bytes down here, which are the most significant, which is what we're then using to copy into... Yeah, that, you know, that might actually work without any change. Well, let me rephrase that. It might work with the change that we don't flip the mask and the rest, and we just keep it keep the rest of the logic the same, which is kind of crazy that that is the case. So let's do this. So we're going to take this code back. Branch carry set to skip mask change. I copied everything to done with attributes, so that's that. And then if I refresh, now this is the same except for the comments. And the only thing we need to do, I think, is get rid of this, because then on the, while we're updating something that's not visible here, wait, and what am I doing wrong? Branch carry set skip mask change. So here it is just doing an and. Or, so this is or attempt to, and then store and F0. So we actually, it's kind of, this code is kind of redundant. We can just say this. Load a temp and F0, and F0 is bottom values, so we get the, yeah, and then we store that in temp2, and then we load the attribute buffer, and we get the top values, and then we OR the, yeah, we're just combining that and storing it. That's it. That's what we need to do. Where's my Lua script? So far, this is looking right. And granted, there's still the little glitchy bit at the bottom, but it's way less than it was before. So this is wrong. But that looks like that's a half attribute bug or something. And my guess is it's when we transition from no split to split, where it's just missing something. Should be able to see that pretty clearly. Otherwise, it's looking pretty good. Yeah, so, okay. I think I see what's happening. So when we go from no split to split, there's a bug where it doesn't update the attributes of this half row properly. So let's think about that for 1 second. So when we go from no split to split, so this half split is gone. That's not needed anymore. This is totally gone. So we go to from no split to split. It has updated this entire thing. And then we get to split mode and it's missing that strip there. And it's missing that strip there. Why? Should this also be set to this so that the half update works properly? Oops. Where's my... I gotta put in a... feature request for it to auto load the Lewis script. That looks like that is nope, it's still broken. Okay. And it looks like it actually is broken worse. Because I think it only had, that time it had twice the glitchiness. Oh no, it looks like it's the same. Oh, did I not reload or rebuild the code? Let's try that again. I was getting distracted looking at the chat comments. So let's see here. We should be back to just this half bit being broken. Yep, okay. So now we're at the point where when it transitions from no split to split, it skips that row at the bottom. Okay, so let's see why that is. So when we are in split mode, we have updated this. Yeah, so now we're in no split. We update this. No. Why is it doing this? First we update that, and then we update that. And at that point we've switched to no split mode. No, I'm sorry. At that point, we've switched to split mode, which would be saying to start here. Here? I guess it's saying to start here and there. That's the thing. We're not... What's interesting is that on the... How is that working? That's bizarre. So, if we're in split mode, it's completely skipping this, but it seems to be working. Am I just overcomplicating this by the way that I'm doing these attribute updates? With the metatile loads themselves? Man, it's that transition between having to... If Nintendo could have just made this a full 32 by 32, so many things would be so much easier. So we start in split mode at 38, which is, I believe we said, yeah, it's right here. So we start there, we load this attribute, and then we load... So how is that actually... How is that actually doing... Okay, because split mode is... The reason split mode is working without the other half of the update is because we are still... Right. Because we are not splitting it up. We're not doing only half the attribute updates like we are in no split mode. Are we? But we did change this. And the mask is only now updating. Well, it was always updating for split mode just half of it. And then if we were in compare, if we're in split mode, branch if not equal to done with attributes. So if we were in no split mode, we updated this, and then we're done, and we'll do the other half of the update over in the other code more to the top. If we're in split mode, we have this that we've done, and now we have to do this part, right? So now what we're doing is we're saying, okay, if we've done this, we're going to take our current position and based on, let's see, transfer X to A. Yeah, we're going to take our current position and we're going to subtract 8, which will bring us to the previous row. So this is the part that also needs to go away, because this is the part that is, we just say jump, because we need to do the other half of the update first. Okay. So that's why the split mode was still working, even though it shouldn't have. It was because it was still doing all the same stuff as before. And now what we'll see is that it will be half correct in split mode and all the way correct in no split mode, I believe. So far, that is correct. That's what we're seeing. And then as soon as we switch to split mode, we should be okay. Or no, I keep switching which is which. I'm sorry if this is confusing for you. Just imagine how confusing it is for me. Okay, and then we're back to this being half correct and half wrong. All right, so now we have to fix it in this code. Where is that code? Let's add a comment here called attribute fixing code, so I can search back through this. I should have done that for a while. I should have done that a while ago, I mean. All right, and now we need to finish the job here. So what we want to do is, if we're in split mode, our index is pointing to the row we want to update, but we want to update the most significant bits of that row with the least significant bits, or did I reverse that? We are pointing to here. We want to update the most significant bits of this row with the least significant bits of that next row. And so what we would do is we would load A with the attribute index and clear the carry and add 8. And then we want to transfer A to X, and we want to load A with the attribute buffer value at X. using the temp variables anywhere. Doesn't look like it. Okay. All right, so we load that there, and then we want the top value, so we're going to we're going to AND that with F, and then we're going to store that into temp, and then we are going to load a attribute index again, and then we are going to transfer A to X again, because now we are going to do our load A of attribute buffer X. We don't need to do any, let's see. We got those. Now we need to take these and keep those. So we want to load A with the current value and then keep the top value. So AND that with F. So let's see. And then arithmetic shift left this 4 times, right? And cell, is it going to shift to zeros? Yes. Okay, so this is going to give us our value shifted over. We're going to store it so that we can OR it against the value. And then that is what we're going to do. So we're going to OR and that to get rid of the upper bits. Then we're going to OR that against temp. And then we're going to store that back into attribute buffer X. And then we're going to increment X. And then we're going to compare X to 8. And do we need Y for anything? Yes, we need Y because we were using that as a counter. Load Y 0. And we're going to increment Y and compare Y to 8 and branch if not equal to split update loop. Otherwise, we are done with this, and we can go to jump, new load, new row, and this is, so that was no split update loop. This is, where are we? Split update loop, right? Because we take the value from the buffer, we've incremented X, we AND it, we take the OR, which is already pre-shifted. We have to do the shifting here because the value is different every time. We OR it, we store it, we increment, we compare, we branch if not equal, otherwise we're done. 998. Oh, yeah. Starting to lose it here. I'm hoping this is it. I'm hoping that we are done with this and we can get back to making some progress. I got some updated artwork this week, which I am super excited about because it looks awesome. So yeah, I really want to do that instead of this. No, we are still wrong. Why? Split update loop. Let's see. Branch not equal to no split update, load attribute, clear carry, add carry. Wait. Yes, okay, yeah, I do need to do that. So add carry, transfer A to X, load Y 0. Oh, well, because I'm just being stupid because I'm tired. I have to do this every time. Gross. Okay. Well, I don't have to do it every time, but because we're alternating rows, well, I guess I could just do the math on X, alternating back and forth. That seems dumb. But I can't think of any other better alternative. Because what we need to do is we need to get the value at X and do this and store this and then transfer X back to A. And this is not right. We want to do that. We want to then set carry and subtract the 8 and then transfer A back to X. No, I don't like this either. If we use Y then for the indexes, then we don't have to do this nonsense. It's just we're gonna have to load a value in a memory address and use that as our counter instead of Y. Load Y, store Y in temp2. Load Y attribute index, and then we will just use that because this is silly to do it this way. So store A into there, and then load A with attribute buffer of Y, and that, and or that, and then store it back into here, and then increment those guys, and then load A, temp2, well, increment temp2, and then compare it to 8, and branch if not equal to that. Make sure I did that right. So load A with the attribute index and add 8. So go to the next row so we can grab the topmost tile values. Transfer A to X. Set temp2 as our counter. Store Y into temp2. Load Y attribute index. Y refers to current attribute index position, which is fine. X is adder index plus 8, which is new next row. So get current top tile top value, shift it to bottom, store shifted value for later use, load current attribute value, remove the bottom attribute, set the next rows corresponding attribute, store back. We increment these guys, and then that should be that. Let's see how that looks. Well, so far we're not seeing any of the weird banding issues that we were seeing before, so that's good. And the attribute index, oh, come back. Attribute updates are still happening in half increments, so that's good. And there is our bumper that we can crash into. And there is a bug by Y because of, I assume, the half. Go back. I'm assuming that at that point we've switched over, but never did that half update we were supposed to. Yep, so there's split, and then we go into no split, and that means we rolled over. Without doing our half update. Why? When we do the attributes get old fast. Why can't I rewind? Fine, I'll restart. Go back. So that update is wrong. So that no split update. So this is the bottom of that screen, right? Or that name table. This is the bottom of the name table right there. So it just skipped this whole thing here. So let's see, because we're in split mode, and we transition to no split mode. Well, of course that's wrong. All right, and so the reason that's wrong is because we'd updated the top of the screen correctly, and then immediately flipped to no split mode, which means that it just updated this part. I assume. Well, but that still doesn't make sense because there was something there before. rewinding my pause. There was something there before. At this point, it's just faster to redo it. It's almost like in the transition, it messed up that attribute table value over there. Let's slow it down and really watch it here. Go back. So there it updated no split. So it updated the topmost portion here because that looks okay, I believe. Right? That's this. That looks okay. But if we go back, so then the next thing it's going to try and update, or the next thing that should be updated is the full, okay, so the full, is this interesting? So is this, did I mess up the location of the start? Let's see. So this is flipping the bits. This is, all right, so branch if not equal to set, so if it's split mode, compare split mode, set no split in branch if not equal to set, right. So no split index is 30, which means the code for this is going to, okay, yeah, so what the problem is that in the transition, we've updated what? We've updated this part, and then it's supposed to update that part, but because of the index and the half, so it actually should be this. Now the problem with doing that is, let's see, set branch of not equal to set no split index. Oh wait, no. No split index. Oh right, and then no split index it adds 8. That's the problem. That's the problem. So the no split index we updated this, and then we're wrapping around. We go into no split mode. It's starting at attribute 38 offset, which is, what did we say that was? C0 plus 38, which is F8. So attribute F8 over here. And then it's basically why does that worked okay with before because you couldn't see it, but now because we're doing the updates in halves, it's looking at the bottom bytes which were not set, and whatever they're set to, it's copying them into the top, which is wrong. So what we need to do is, if the index is 38, let's see, no split update is taking the attribute index. Oh, it's even worse. It's actually going over to junk memory. So load A, let's see. So load A. Do I even need to do anything? I don't think I even need to do anything. Compare to 38. Branch if not equal, branch if equal to load new row. Let's see if that's too far a jump. It's not. Okay. Where's tiled? So let's see here what we got. Come on. They're the bad guys. There's that part of it. Let's run the script. It is still wrong. Why? Compare it to split. If it's not equal to split, set it to this. Oh. Okay, yeah. So it's what I said before. So sorry. So it's over here, which means we're adding this and then copying. Okay. Let's do this. So if it's 30, then we're just gonna skip it for now. Let's see if it behaves more like I expected it to a moment ago. What I expected to do is not touch it, but also not be correct. So we won't get those black chunks of color into the map, but it will not necessarily have the right attributes because we have to have a special condition there that basically says what? It says if we are doing that, then, oh, you know what we can do? We can just roll it over. That would actually fix that, I think. Yep, so that undid the breakage. So here, wait a minute. So instead of doing that, clear carry, add carry, and with, what did I do? 3F? if we have 30 plus 8, 30 plus 8. Oh, no, okay. That won't work. It's not that it's at that row. Never mind. Okay, so that was better. But what we want to do is we want to say, okay, so now compare that to 38, which means that we're at the last attribute row. Right, if we're at the last attribute row, then what we want to do here, what we can do is this. We can say load a F0 store a temp. This is our mask for the value we want to use. The problem with that is that if we split, if we change it, then we don't have to do. Okay, cool. Never mind. Okay, so compared to 38 hex, branch if equal to at that point, what do we want to do? We want to take the, oh, okay, wait, yeah. That'll work. That will work. Okay. So what I want to do is if we see the value is 38, what we were trying to do is take the value from the bottom of the attribute and apply it to the top of the attribute, which won't work right now because we are at the half row at the bottom of the screen if we get to 38. So what we want to do is we want to set it equal to 0. And then that will fix the problem. So branch if equal to, or branch if not equal to no, to just this label here. Otherwise, load a 0. We want to use the top attributes of row 0 because we are starting at the bottom of the screen, something like that. That's basically what it is. So we've rolled over. We need to grab what was the last update to the top of the screen for this spot that we're in to make it seamless. So we want to grab this instead of the attribute index value plus 8. So let's try that again. So let's get everything that we need to look at lined up here. Here's my code. That where is tiled? There's the bumper. So we'll know if this worked. If we see, what is that supposed to be? What is the value supposed to be? I'm so confused right now. If we are updating, If we were just doing our updates before, I just grabbed the wrong thing, but I thought it was the right thing. So if we're doing split mode, we're doing this, and then we're doing this, and then we're doing this, and then we're doing this, and we're doing that, doing that, doing that, and then we're doing this and this. So this should match up to the value of that. And if I look at this, this is at the, this name table is here, that name table is there. Just grabbing the palette from this. The half row is where? Here. F8. It's this guy, right? Yeah. Two BC3. Wait, what? 2 3 C0. So 2 3. So this is the half row here. So I don't want to go and grab what's here. I think I understand now what I did wrong. Stop. So we were updating. Am I going to be able to rewind? No, because I'm. Son of a... All right. So every name table. All right, so we are currently, I'm not sure why I hadn't realized this. And I don't know if this is a problem or not. But we'll see in a minute. So we're in no split mode now, which means the next update we're going to do is going to be for this here. Now, that that's the split half mode. So what it is actually going to be is it's going to be over here. We're going to update this, and then in between we're going to say we need to update this with a value, and so it's going to take the value of the index, and it's going to add 38. It's going to add 8 to it, which is going to put us here. And then it's going to say, actually, just grab 0, which is there, right? 23C0, 2BC0. And it's going to take these values and it's going to update this into here, which is wrong. Because it should be using what? What should it be using? It should be using well, I guess it should have split when it did the update. And it was in split mode, it would have done this and that, but instead it did this, and then we were in no split mode, so then this is trying to update this with, but that's still bizarre because it should be taking, did I just take the wrong values because of the way that works? So it's the bottommost bits. Right, it's the bottommost bit for a no split update. No, it's not. For no split update, it's the topmost and then the bottommost. And so what I did was what? I said if this is take our attribute index and add 8. If we're at 38, then go back to 0. And then it's taking these bottom ones. Okay, that makes sense, even though it's wrong. So instead, what we would need to do, we kind of need to jump back over here and do the last split half update, essentially. So let's see. So what we would want to do is we would want to say make a 0 because we want to start at the beginning, but we're not taking these, so we're going to do split update, which would take the top. So what we want to do is we're going to load that to 0 and then jump to force split update. And force split update will then be this. Which will say, okay, we've got our X, and then Y will be whatever the attribute index is currently. And we're going to do... No, crap. It's still wrong. So it's a special case. It's a special case. It's a special case because we want to update the top with the top, which is not how we do anything else. We do the top of the tiles currently with the bottom over here, and here we do the bottom with the top. Okay, so load A0. So we're going to make this an actual label. Branch if not equal to normal, no split update. Normal, no split update. All right, so, and then here we're going to just do a jump to load new row. All right, so we've got, this is 0, and that is our X value. And then again, we want to load the attribute index into Y. Because that is our index that we're going to use to update the top. And then we are going to, well, the good news is we can use X as our counter. We don't need a separate counter. So special no split loop, load A, attribute buffer X. So we want the top of that, which means that we want to AND that with, keep doing that, F. So that gives us the top values. And we want them to stay where they are. So then we want to load, we want to OR attribute buffer, store that into temp. We want to load attribute buffer of Y, and we want to AND that with this to get rid of its, actually its bottom values don't matter, so never mind. You just OR it. Oh wait, but we got to get rid of the top values. So we just, oh, if we're just zeroing it out, then who cares? All right, so we're just storing it. After we get rid of the bottom values, we're just storing it. And then we're going to increment X and increment Y and compare X with 8, which works here because we are starting at 0, essentially. Branch not equal to special, no split loop. Oh, please fix this problem. Where's tiled? So what we should see, there are the enemies, there's the bottom of that little bit of ground. The bumper appears, it looks good. What is it doing? Why did it do that? Why did it do that? Because what? Because the value is... Oh, because that's not even right anyway. Damn it. Load A, attribute, index, clear carry, add carry, 8. Transfer A to Y, that's why. Okay, it was updating the wrong row. I forgot about that. Okay. Come on. I think that got it. Nope. So close. It is actually... Well, wait, maybe is it? Oh, it is right. It's right. Crap, that's not right, though. Damn it. Is that another transition? Are we having the opposite problem now? Most likely that's the case. We have the opposite problem here. Yeah, so we go from no split to split, which means that it's not copying. Oh, man. All right, so... we're going from no split to split. This is our... This is not the half row. This is the half row, right? This is the half row. Why did this mess up? No. Okay, this is the full row. Okay, I know why that messed up. That messed up because we detected that we were going from split to no split. I mean, sorry, no split to split. And so the half update was wrong because it was saying that was... Because it was... Yeah. Because we're down here and we're transitioning over that, we are updating this one, and then we're supposed to update this one, but we didn't because we switched modes, and we need to detect that better or allow it to continue to work. Instead of what it's doing. Where is it setting the index? It's storing it back here, which means this is where we're checking to see. Take the attribute index and subtracting 16. What if we didn't do that? What if we only subtracted 8? Let's see. Let me think about that for a second. You know, the problem with that is that then we've got to do the logic somewhere else. Let me go back to my idea here of check and swap attribute modes. So let's see. So if we are in the process here of going from no split to split, so compared to split branch of not equal to this, then we want to increment split, half split. Right? We say compare attribute mode split branch not equal to no split. So we were in split and we went to no split. Here we want no split going into split, so we're in split, so we do that one half split there. How does that affect the rest of our code? It should be okay, because the next metatile we load will be split properly. Okay. All right, I'm feeling good about this. Let's all right, so update, yeah, so here's our fixing code. So branch no split, compare split. Branch of not equal to no split update. Otherwise we are in split update. Load a half split. Branch not equal to the next thing here, otherwise decrement half split, jump to split, no split update. So now what we should see is that it, I think, will, on the transition between, maybe work. Except right there where it didn't. Let me just see something before I declare it completely broken and wrong with that. Let's what happened there? Let me, so the code is wrong, but I need to understand. I need to look at it and understand why. Or exactly how it's. So this is totally wrong. And so is that. What is it doing? I guess this is dumb and it's creating a problem. It's just this one right there. That's wrong. It's just that half that didn't get done properly. And we're coming in split mode, and we're loading. Where am I? We're in split mode. We're adding this to 38, right? Because we're gonna have Are we adding that to 38? Or are we adding that to 30? I guess we're adding that to 30. Range and equal to no split index. That's 30. So if we're in split, we're at 38. So we're adding it to 38, which means we're overflowing the memory of the. Let's do that. Let's do this. If we add carry and we compare that to 38 plus 8, that gives us 40. And the reason this is okay is because it's just copying junk into the lower bytes. So basically what we got to do is a special case here where we say, okay, compare it to 40, branch of not equal to, what did I call that? Normal split update. Normal split update, which will get us to here, normal split update. Otherwise, we want to do special logic here for the same reason as before, load new row. So same thing. So we're saying, okay, well, we're at the bottom of the attribute table at 38, and we've added A to it, so we're going to get 40, which means that we've overflowed, which means that what we really want to do is we want to update 0 with the value at the bottom of the attribute. So I want to update the top, which is the least significant, with the bottom, which is the most significant, which is annoying because it's the other case that we already have for no split. Can we just jump to no split? No, because we are maybe normal no split update. We have, let's see, load A, clear carry, add carry, compare to 38, branch if not equal to normal no split update, which gets us here. We load Y with 0 for our loop, and A had our index that we needed. So we should, well, maybe we can do that. So load A with that, and then jump to normal no split update. Because what we want to do is actually the normal no split update. We say Y gets the 0, and then A has our index, which is 0. Yeah, that looks right. Except for that. 990. Otherwise, we're just updating the split the same way we would normally. Come on. Run the script. Thank you. So far, so good. It looks like that was it. It looks like that was it. Let's see. Let's just follow the rest of the map. Make sure that there's not any weird additional glitches in the way it's behaving, but that looks right. Finally. Yeah, remember when Nathan Tolbert talked about how attributes is what made him want to almost quit NES programming? This is why. This is why. This convoluted nonsense that you have to do. And this should be really interesting because we're going to get into a section where we get a whole screen of just the blue. So let's see if we actually see that before we get to that little bit of green that appears on its own. And I like having the updates show up on here. That's kind of cool. That was neat to see when things were actually changing and which part of it was changing. I'm not sure how much of it actually helped necessarily in trying to, but it's definitely more visually clear when something is changing. That looks right. Let's see, so we should get to another little sort of island coming up in a second. I think that got it. And then we should hit all green until we get to the buffer at the end that makes us crash. There must be some sort of weird bug with the objects. Maybe it's rolling over and causing those objects to spawn. It's kind of interesting that that's happening, but all right, so now, yeah, so now the attributes should be, oh, that's cool. So it's actually pretty obvious when attributes aren't updating at all. We just got some sort of updates going on there. Not sure how close we are. There we are. That worked. And now we're at the end of the map. All right. My own little sound effect there. Holy crap. All right. It's fixed. It's fixed. Dear God, it's fixed. Let's commit this change, shall we? Attributes are loading in half metatiles. Finally. 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 Okay. Commit. I don't want to lose that code. As always, thank you for watching this extremely long stream. I hope you guys checked out the summary video. I don't remember if I mentioned that at the beginning of the video because that was 3 hours ago. Yeah, I hope you checked out that summary to see where we've progressed from and to. And like I said at the beginning of this stream, I'm excited. I got some really good artwork that I am going to start incorporating in the next stream for the game. It looks really good. It's going to really bring things together to start making it look like a real game instead of just sort of like a tech demo. At this point, we've got the code working. We've got the attributes working properly. I'm sure there's going to be stuff where we have to do a little more fiddling with how we swap palettes in and out. But hopefully we won't have to change the actual mechanics of how the attributes get updated by the engine. Please, I hope. And we're going to be messing around with sprites and sprite colors and additional elements. Right now, our sprites are composed of single palettes. The sprites that the artist has put together, his name is Jordan. The sprites that Jordan has put together are using 2 different palettes, which is fine. We got to figure out how to do that in not necessarily in the NES, but in the data that we're defining for the game so that they will look correct. He's done some really cool stuff with animation, and yeah, we'll look at all of that in the next stream. But sorry if I'm rambling here. I'm excited that this is done. I'm also exhausted and ready to go to bed. Thanks for watching. As always, if you have any comments or questions, you can reach me on Twitter at Clairvis. You can find me on Nintendo Age. You can comment on the recording on the video on YouTube. And I will see you Thursday. Have a good evening.